second game. This is my game versus Clazy Stone. I'm white again. It's just random, so I'm white. Let me know if the stream looks okay since I'm restarting it again. Yeah, and let's jump into it. So I'm white, so so I was planning to play the same opening as before, but black took my corner, or took that corner, so I couldn't take it. That's fine though. So I take the other corner. I didn't want to play facing 3-4 points, even though I have a strategy for it. I wasn't sure if, how it would go necessarily, so I didn't want to play it right away. And I felt like this would be more peaceful or easy to play. Black approaches. It's a little strange. Black normally would approach this corner because both of black's corners are pointing at it. They both want to develop in this area, so this corner is bigger than the bottom right. So I'm a little confused by why black approached here. I actually just ignore it because this side, this way to develop is much bigger than anything he can do in the corner here. So yeah, I was a little confused by that, but I was happy. Hey Ornable, good to see you. But yeah, I was really happy that I could get this extension. I think he should have played here. It would have been much more difficult for me to not necessarily deal with, but it was the proper direction. My plan was to approach, and if he approaches again, then I play up to not get pushed low, and he probably pincers or defends. All these things are normal. Yeah, he approached here, so I was happy. I got my approach, was bigger. He played this move, and this really caught me off guard. I wasn't sure. Normally you play this when you don't want to develop the right, which he doesn't, it's not the most important place for him to develop, because I have low stone here. So it kind of makes sense. At the same time though, he could also just defend and take Sente to like play here, and now his stone is working really well with this enclosure, and you have a much more stable shape. The reason this shape isn't stable is because I can later play here or attach, and the corners has a lot of weaknesses. So I was a little confused, but I just took my corner enclosure. I figure since he responded to me low and there's a lot of Aji left, my approach move is kind of light. And by that I mean it's like a forcing move. I can kind of give it up, or it already served a purpose by making black respond with this unusual move. It's not like super unusual, but it's kind of unusual. Also, by enclosing, there's only one corner enclosure left, which is that black can get, and I can develop really well along this side. So it opens up an avenue of development, and it's one of the biggest points on the board. And so black, of course, plays here to stop my development and to enclose his corner, or at least make it so that his corner can't be easily reduced. So I pincer. I chose this pincer because if you play the popular variation, this one that I have to remember, this is kind of the most modern variation. Then I get Sente, which is good. Black has pretty solid shape, but this area is open between these stones because of the unusual move here. And my stone is in a perfect position to reduce the potential of the bottom left. So that's kind of what I was looking at. There are other variations, of course, but this is just the most modern or common one now. You can see the simple variation too. I get to play on both sides. This starts aiming at stuff in the upper right. These stones are very light, like even if black tries to attack them somehow, I can easily settle my shape and aim at reducing or invading here. And if you look at this board, white has some points, black has a corner, so these are about even. White has a corner here, black, this isn't really points, so it's basically white's corner here. And black has, a good framework, but the problem is this is most of black's points, right? If you play like this, then it's not really clear that black is going to get more on the board than white. since all white has to do is find one way to reduce it, and then there goes everything, or most of it. Okay, so anyway, we played this variation, and black just makes a Joseki mistake. This is not a move. Yeah, and the end result of this is really good for me. This move is completely wasted, or mostly wasted. Black gets a forcing move here if he really wants, but it's not really that important. I get a lot of points. He doesn't have a base yet. Like this is not even an eye really, because I guess to take it away, it's like a half eye. So my stone, even though it's pretty close, black is weak. So this isn't too close to thickness. This is actually a pretty severe attack on black. Black decides to counter Pinsir to put pressure back on me and develop his bottom left. It's a perfectly appropriate response. So my move was to just reduce the area. I don't have to run this stone out. I was worried that if I ran it out right away... First off, if I jump, he can... Not there. He can jump, and he still has a connection underneath later, right? Here. So even if I move out, it's not that useful for me. And he gets to develop his area. I could move out more severely, something like this. He has a forcing move here, and then he jumps. But it's not necessarily clear, you know, if I can... I probably can't kill this, realistically, and he's developing a lot of space. So there's no reason for me to move this stone out right now. Instead, I just reduce directly. I like this move a lot for a lot of things, but in this case, I wanted to play lightly in black's area. So I chose this one. This is a good move. If I push up, then black pushes down, and I'm under pretty severe attack. And I have to block to keep them separated, and then these stones are like, what are they doing, kinda? Or instead of extending, black can even go here. If I Pinsir, then these are under attack, and if I go from the center, oops. If I go from the center, then black just defends the side, and he's like perfectly happy inside my space. So this is a very good move. So I can't defend the bottom side, so I just push up. He goes down. Whoops. Or I can't push up. Sorry. I was like really confused for a second. I was like, I didn't think I played there, but maybe I did. Okay, so I played this move to exchange and stop him from taking the corner. He defends. If he were to push instead, I'm perfectly happy taking the corner and going for an exchange. Something like this. This is totally fine for me, because now I have really good reducing moves, like this or like this, that use this stone and threaten the attack here. Also later there's a cutting point, so that's nice too. So he defends, I push, and this is also an overplay. Like you can't make this Hane, it doesn't work. Joseki would be for him to extend. I was just going to push a couple times, and then Pinsir. That was my plan. And I can use this, and he runs, and then now I get in front. And it's kind of like a running fight, but I got my points here. He gets his points at the bottom, but his upper right's still open, and my bottom right is secure. And as I run, I can start threatening things with this stone too. So that was my plan. But he Hanes, which is an overplay. And I just cut. There's no reason not to cut. He makes these exchanges, and I start running out. He tries to steal me in. So there's some issues in his shape. So he should just block here, right? And then I'm pretty much forced to live somehow. Maybe not here. Maybe like this. But then the issue is now he has to defend this cut too. This is Sente. And now this stone can still move out, and he has a cutting point here. Even though it looks like black is kind of like has a lot of stones here, the wall is not very strong. It's like hardly a wall. So he decides to fix all that first, and he wants me to answer, right? Make these exchanges and then defend. Now this group is much more secure. Even if I do this, he can just take the stone. Or instead of taking, you could also just jump here. If I run, he defends the cutting point. Probably like this. But like, there's no threat to him. I might be able to reduce it, but there's no threat to his groups. But of course I don't respawn, I just push through. The result's very good for me. These 2 stones aren't important. If he's going to be alive after this move anyway, there's no reason for me to make him more alive. Or like, defend it. He plays this jump. He's trying to defend this center while still using the stone, but it lets me move this stone out. Now he's starting to get into a really difficult fight. I just push and split. That's part of the reason this knight's move isn't good, is it doesn't have a good follow-up. This looks like a follow-up, but I can just push through. And then I take the stone because since I moved these guys out, now this group is weak after I take these. Also to help my group make an eye. He makes these exchanges, and then he wants to settle these stones in Sente. I'm actually perfectly happy letting him settle because it also means that my corner gets more solid. Like that. Before this, black had some Aji, like, not there. Like this attachment or this leaning move, which I think is actually better if he plays like this. Then he can get better shape. It's still kind of an iffy shape for him because these are not solid and I'm not going to die here. And also I could take Sente at this point to like attack this corner, but the idea is the same. I think it's just better shape for the same idea. But he wants to settle on Sente, and this is really questionable. Like, this is such an overplay. Because he wants to kill these 2 stones on a large scale and take all these points, right? But there's some problems. This stone, like, this is an okay relationship. It's like so-so. But this stone and this stone, these have cutting points, right down the center. Okay, those are like, you could still get an attack going with that, but the corner is also not alive. So after my next, I make this exchange first, and then after here, the corner is kind of a little bit in trouble. If he defends, it won't die, but then it's like, you can't really attack these because your corner's in trouble. I played this one first because if I just go down immediately, he might play here. And then I have to stop the connection somehow, but then maybe I'm a little heavy, and I wasn't sure if I can win this fight. If he can manage to make, even making a Ko is fine, because he has a lot of local threats. And, defending. It's harder to kill than it looks, and it's a little risky, so I wasn't sure if I could kill it. So I made this exchange first, and then I go back, and he defends. I think, now that I look at it, I probably could have just played down and killed the corner, but I wasn't sure. Or he defends and it's the same thing. So yeah, I'm making shape, and I'm basically alive at this point. I don't think you can really kill this. He defends the corner because if he, tries to kill and does this, oops. Actually, I don't think this is the right way to kill. But, same idea. This is a Ko at least. If he connects, then I just connect up. He has no eyes. But there might be a better way to kill, or easier, like just peep and extend. Or sorry, not extend. Yeah, extend. He Hanes, and I connect. So, I don't know. He just connects, but then I just on it, right? And this group's dead. Seems tough. When I was reading at the time, I'm pretty sure he needed a move. So he added a move. This group is also still, it's alive, but it has a lot of forcing moves that I can get. I basically make the Hana exchange to make myself safe and alive. And then he jumps, swallowing the stone, securing this group, developing an area. But if you look at the board right now, white is doing pretty well, because this corner is actually not very big. White has a lot of endgame moves against it. This black group is not secure, like at all. There are cutting points here. There's a peep here. This corner is not secure. So really, only thing black has is this area, and there's still some weaknesses. This move should actually be here. And then he could add a move if he wanted, but he could also just make an extension. Okay, so he played this jump. And in comparison, white has a really big corner here, and some points here. But more importantly, white can attack this group. White can attack this shape, and black has like thinness everywhere. So this position is really good for white. I turn here, emphasizing the cuts and peep here, while building strength to attack this group. He defends the group, although this is also an overplay, it doesn't make good shape. There's still weaknesses here, so it's trying to do a lot, but it doesn't really do much. I just run out. I'm perfectly happy. I could always live, but I don't want to live, because I want to attack this. If I live, then it'll make it strong, and then I can't attack it. Anyway, so I jump out. Again, I'm just waiting. These cuts are still here, these weaknesses are still here. I'm waiting to see which one black will spend a move on, and then I'll just jump on the other. That's the plan. Black plays here, aiming at the peep in this shape. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. But even if he peeps, my corner won't die, right? We'll see it later, but if he were to peep now, I can just connect, and this is basically alive. Or it is alive. So I'm not really worried about that, but it is a big extension. So now, since he's spread himself wide, I come in. He defends the corner again with this strange shape. Your intuition might be to play here, but since he has a stone here, this fight might not be very good for you, or for me. So instead I just take the top. The top is really big, and it indirectly emphasizes this cut, and indirectly attacks the group on the left. Again, it's the same idea. Since he responded beneath my stone, I'm treating this as a forcing move, or lightly, so I can just ignore it. He plays here to prevent me from sealing him in now that the top one got stronger. And I just continue with my same idea of pressuring this group. And now he basically has to find life. Oh my gosh, I keep clicking the wrong one. He wants to make shape while running out, but this exchange doesn't fix the weaknesses here, and I'm happy to take solidify my points. It also doesn't really help him break out here too much, because I'm independently alive here, and there's still weaknesses here with these stones. So he's kind of greedy. I don't really know how to say. Like, sure, you made this exchange, these two, but your group is still very iffy, and there's still weaknesses here if I wanted to just cut. Yeah, I wasn't really sure. But maybe he felt like he was too far behind in points after making this, that he wanted to develop this area. So I came in. I was worried, though, that if I botched this attack, that I would fall behind in territory, because this is getting very big. But that's kind of natural when your opponent ignores your moves to take points, that you basically have to kill him or attack something. I read this out, basically. And at this point, oh, he made a misclick. In the game, he played here, but I let him take it back. It doesn't really matter. Alright, I could just push up, and this is really good for me. I made a picnic ko. It's a ko, but it's really good because it's a ko that loses me very little points if I lose it, and I had to give up very little to make the ko. But if he loses this ko, his entire group dies. So I was super happy. And I have like so many ko threats because this group is, a move away from dying. This area is his only real territory except for this corner, and it's has lots of weaknesses. So I was really happy. This ko just made the game very easy. There's a little bit of subtle move order thing here, but it's not that important. Basic idea is it became a ko, and he trades this bottom left corner for this territory to keep his group alive. But if you look at the board now, this was like 20 points, sort of 8, 9, 10, or sorry, not 20, 10. This is 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14 points, 14 points, plus or minus 1 here, so it's 15 points. But this corner is much bigger. It also reduced, he no longer has endgame plays against this group down here. So it actually just gives me so many points. And now the top is really huge for me. And I'm like, this corner looks kind of big, but it's really only like 12 points, and it can still be reduced. This bottom right corner looks smaller intuitively, but it's like 8 points or 10 points, so it's not that different. Anyway, he tries to live after the ko, which is silly. This is just killing it. I don't know why. I guess he might have thought it wasn't a ko threat, but I don't know, it was just dead. So he comes and takes a blast. You know, this is a vital point. I said in the last game, it's the border between two Moyos, so it helps him develop really big. But he still has weaknesses here. This stone still has a lot of Aji. There's an invasion point here. I can still reduce from the top side. There's some weaknesses here. I don't really remember what I did, but black's in trouble, kinda. It's really hard to get the actual points. Yeah, I came out here. He peeps. This is reasonable. But you can see, like, already he's being pushed back to this space where before he's kind of threatening the whole thing. These stones on the right are not solid yet, or not completely alive, so they'll have to defend themselves later. Oh, this, right. He's trying to wall me in by, you know, if I take this stone, then he can make a wall and get points. But unfortunately, I can not take the stone and threaten the group here while still pushing him back into his area. He still manages to live because he has this kind of connection. This move doesn't kill, but it forces him to capture my moves and puts more Aji in the position. So it's a really good move to learn. It's kind of a sacrifice. Black defends, there's not really another move, and I get this move. Right, so now because I played this move, I had extra liberties, and now I'm threatening to capture this stone. I'm also threatening the ko. The ko is big because it gives me the Hane here, and it just keeps pushing into his area. He decides to start the ko. I don't want to take right away, because then the double Atari lets him defend his area. So I extend, but this is really risky for black now, because if I win this, like, if I lose this ko, I give up these two stones. Not a big deal. If I win the ko, all these stones die. So it's a really good ko for me. And on the board, like, maybe we're, like, he might have some threats at the top that just take points. I have threats in the center that threaten both to reduce the same space he's defending and to kill these stones here. And these stones are not safe. And if I remember correctly, so he defends and then I start the ko. If I remember correctly, then these threats are really big. Or became big in the game. This is a threat. It's not really a threat. I could finish the ko. And he doesn't gain anything, really. But I wanted to keep the Aji alive in these stones. So I decided to defend. And I had a lot more threats, I counted at the time. So I play here. If he ignores and finishes the ko, then I can Hane and start a bigger ko. And this ko, I have local threats too, and it's just really good. Of course, connecting is actually a mistake. He had to take the stone and kill these two, not be so concerned about this one stone. But since he connected, then I can just kill the whole group. And that was basically that game. The really interesting things to note in this game is, even, I guess the thing I would say about this game is white played very thick, or the groups I made, I was moving quickly around the board, right? I ignored these moves and I played fast and moved quickly, but most of my shapes had very few weaknesses left over, right? If we go to the beginning and run quickly, my stones don't have very few weaknesses, but from the start black left a weakness in this shape. And then in this shape, well, this is just a mistake, but in this shape black also has weaknesses here that he's trying to fix. And in this shape, this is an overplay, so it leaves weaknesses. But when you already have weaknesses, you can't be aggressive. You have to fix your weaknesses before attacking. Otherwise, you just have too much to handle and your opponent has too many things that they can push on for momentum, or to defend. Similarly here, there's a weakness here, there's a weakness here. I showed the variation further down the line. That just left issues. There's a weakness with this stone. There's a weakness trying to save anything here that you can't really. This nice move, these are floating. Still weakness here. This corner can fall under attack later. Bottom right area has weaknesses. There's just a lot of things white can aim at. This is also problematic. So like, black's just been very busy the whole game trying to settle everything. These stones are weak. This is, he's trying to be aggressive to compensate for his weaknesses and make up the position, but he has too many things to worry about. There's this Aji, these cutting points that I guess I never took advantage of because he resigned, but I was thinking about them a lot. This group up here, this corner, this connection. It's just like everything has problems. The only thing white really has to worry about is this peep here, right? That's it. White can go all out with these two stones and settle. So that's basically what I did. And black still has problems on the board, right? This corner is always a move away from dying, so Ko is very good for me. This stone has still some Aji. This corner, nothing's happened, it's still weak, and these stones are still weak, and there's still peeps and cuts here. This is not a bad move. Black, it could be better if black just used this peep and then played here. Settled the group, or try to settle. I don't know how you would fix this though. Maybe just here. And if white, it's hard for white to do stuff here. Like, even if I do this, then black just goes down and lives. At least this is alive and easy now, right? And this group, my group, has a little bit of weakness. It only has one eye now, so maybe I have to somehow defend it. And then black defends his thing. And then I get, a good move because black had to defend this, but this is, by the way, not how you defend it, but I just didn't want to take it back. So I don't know. The game basically progressed, and black is always on the defensive because his moves don't protect anything. This move doesn't protect the group. This move leaves a clear weakness here. It's an attacking move, but it doesn't protect the side, it doesn't protect the center. Also, I guess it protects it now that you have 3, but it's low, and it's not attacking this stone. Now your group's in danger. He makes this exchange. I guess he thinks this is enough to live, but it still has weaknesses. This move also, by the way, doesn't quite work. Right, you could do this stuff, but I don't know. You have to take this stone. I can Hana. If you take it, it's like I'm just cutting into everything. But anyway, I made a Ko here. Eventually the weaknesses are just too much. He has a weak group here that became a Ko, and the bottom left dies. And then he's trying to develop points in the center to, too many weaknesses. And that's basically the entire game. Just weaknesses everywhere. And then he eventually dies with this group here. Okay. Again, a really simple game when you look at it, like, kind of broadly. There's some complicated reading, like killing the bottom left corner is pretty easy, but reading out the Ko sequence here is a little difficult. But other than that, it's mostly, I think the hardest thing in this game was just, treat these two stones as forcing moves. Don't help them. And just take, solid big points everywhere else. And I think, it worked out pretty well. I'm pretty sure I'll have to restart the stream for the next game, so I'll do that. Be right back. Unless anyone had questions, the chat seems no comments, so guessing no questions. Okay.